Jose Siri hit the cover off the ball, but the way that Juan Soto ball sounded, I mean,
Juan Soto's a machine.
First of all, he knew he was hitting a home run right afterwards.
I said this last week. If I'm Pete Alonso, I'm purposefully not going to opt out just so the Mets don't have any other choice.
If the trade deadline comes and the Mets are seriously in on Vlad, and you go to Pete, let's just say for argument's sake, and you say, listen, we have a real shot to bring in Vlad. You're going to be the DH. And if he says no, I'm putting Pete in the package for Vlad.
Can we worry about this year? I want a championship.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the original Mets Guys podcast for episode 14. 2 touchdowns into recording. That's pretty darn cool. Today, we have a very special guest, a friend of the podcast, Vinny from Shea Less. Vinny, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having you again. So for the record, we had like 2 episodes that we recorded that we had like technical glitches and it never worked. So I don't know if you're cursing us or what's happening here, but hopefully this will record and we'll get your deep thoughts on everything Mets here.
They're out in the universe somewhere. They're just floating around, these 2 episodes.
They're on the cloud.
Right. And
I think we figured it out, by the way. You have to stay after we're done recording and I hit stop. You got to stay on for like a couple minutes just so it uploads correctly. Because if you leave before, then it like messes with the whole upload.
All right, so we'll do that tonight.
Yeah, why don't we just stop it, talk some more?
But can I just call out Vin on one thing here? I'm not calling him out. I'm not calling him out. See, we ask everybody who their top 5 Mets of all time are. Right? And I'm not going to ask you again to repeat it because I have it here documented, but it was never put out into the internet universe. Interverse. I just made up that word right now. All right. So you had Mike Piazza, number 1. Great call. David Wright, number 2. Great call. Jose Reyes, I can respect it. And then he went with Ray Ordonez, number 4. And then he went Francisco Lindor, number 5. So I know that you have a man crush on Ray Ordonez. So I thought it has to be documented. It has to be recorded. And I'll give you an opportunity to defend yourself. What?
I have a big man crush on Ray Ordonez.
By the way, I saw that on the Shea Less podcast, on you and Lou's podcast, you asked Lou his top 5 Mets of all time.
Yeah,
and I commented on that video. My ears are closed because I'm asking that. My first, I wonder where you got this idea, but
I got it from you guys.
I'm stealing stuff over here.
What would they say? Imitation is the best form of flattery, right?
Yeah.
No, I love it. Love it.
I still have not. I saw the clip. I saw the first who's top 5 Mets of all time. I muted it very quickly. Went to the comments, left my comments, and never watched the rest of the video.
I'll tell you. When he gives you his on your show, there's going to be one that is a big name, but it might shock you more than my Ray Ordonez pick.
You know what? He's going to have to blow our minds then because that Ray Ordonez... Listen, Ray Ordonez is amazing. Ray Ordonez is amazing, but...
It's like a monster name in the baseball universe, but when you think of your all-time favorite Mets and you hear it, I think you're going to be like, what? Really?
Okay.
By the way, I saw you guys met Jose Reyes. I saw you got a signed bat. That must have been sick.
The signed bat is not mine. This is what happened. At Fanatics Fest, you could buy a ticket to meet somebody and split the ticket for the picture, which is what me and Lou did with Carmelo Anthony. So we assumed that it was going to be the same thing at Woodbridge with Jose Reyes. So Lou bought the ticket. And we were going to split it, take the picture with Jose Reyes. About a day or so before, Lou gets an email that every person has to have their own ticket. So I was like, well, I couldn't get a ticket at that point. So Joe C. from the group chat, he wanted to get a jersey signed. He had a white Jose Reyes jersey. Couldn't find it. So he had a bat. He bought the ticket. He ended up finding the jersey, bought another ticket. And when we met him that day, he was like, bro, just get my bat signed for me and you could have the picture with Reyes.
I see
So
that.
Joe really hooked me up with the picture.
Oh,
And
nice.
I just got the bat signed.
And I want to ask you, is Jose Reyes going to come on to live with you guys?
I don't know. I reached out. I talked to him that day about it, and he said he would do it. He said to reach out to the guy who sets everything up for him. I reached out to him. I went back and forth for about 4 or 5 messages on Instagram, and then that was it. I've been on scene ever since.
That's fun.
Yeah. I asked for about 5-10 minutes. I asked the guy if he's ever done an Instagram live with anybody because I didn't know what to offer, what would be the right thing without being disrespectful. And when I asked his guy that sets everything up, I haven't heard back.
Got it. That's interesting. But listen, we have messaged a lot of Mets players, and not a single one has looked at it
Yet.
yet. Listen, but we did.
You know who else has seen my messages and not answered me?
Who we talking?
Darryl Strawberry.
Daryl.
Oh, I don't want to say anything, but we got something in the works with Darryl Strawberry.
Yeah, I messaged him a few times. He's read it and not answered. So at least he knows we're out there.
He knows you exist. He knows
Right.
He knows Shea Less 24 account on Instagram exists.
I'll take it.
Listen, let's some Met spring training. Jose Siri's on an absolute tear. Hit an absolute monster shot today, which makes me very happy. He can be really fun to watch. Now I'm wondering if Carlos Mendoza is debating on who's going to be our starting center fielder between Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor. I want to get your guys' thoughts on who you think is going to be the opening day center fielder.
Seems like it's going to be Siri.
Listen,
He's getting tearing the cover off the ball, and he's a spark plug. He's exciting on the bases. He was the best defensive center fielder in baseball last year. That's taking nothing away from Tyrone Taylor, but if Siri's going to hit and his ability to run the bases and defensively, I think it's a no-brainer. It's got to be Siri.
Yeah, I thought coming into spring training that it was going to be Tyrone Taylor at the end of the day, or come opening day. What Siri's doing is making this a tough decision for Mendoza.
Absolutely.
And you're right. I think he may be overtaking him. Listen, we're a week into spring training. It's so hard to judge anyone with a week. And a lot of decisions are going to be made from things that we don't see behind the curtain of the camp and the clubhouse and a lot of the other things that go on off the field. I mean, meaning not on the spring training game field, but
Right.
But the other stuff. But you're right, in terms of just skill and productivity, Jose Siri is on a tear.
Listen, Lou in the comments over here, he brought up a good point. Siri's got vibes. And if we know anything about the New York Metropolitans, is they run off those vibes. And he's an electric guy to watch. He's always had pop, right? Again,
Right.
This is spring training. He's 3 for 10 with 3 home runs. So he's batting 300, but again, it's spring training. So the question is, do you want that young electric guy, or do you want a guy as Tyrone Taylor who is going to play and bring productivity to you, versus a guy who is either going to strike out or hit a home run?
My thing with Siri is that if we get what we expect from Lindor and Soto and Alonso, Vientos, and up and down the line of Nimmo, I'm absolutely fine with that 25 potential home run, 20 to 25 with Siri. Steal the bases, play defense, and then if you hit 220, I would sign for that right now. Where I feel like Siri is the type of guy that when Citi Field really gets rolling and Soto's doing his thing, and let's not forget, this guy played in Tampa. I mean, my house is more exciting than going to a Rays game. So Siri just seems like a guy that with that electricity of the stadium and the fans and the Soto's doing his shuffle and they got the dancing going, that he's really going to thrive off that. And I think it puts Taylor in the best situation for him because he could come in late in the game for defense and play left field with Siri next to him. Now you have an elite level defense almost across the board in the outfield.
Right. And to your point, a lot of people are bringing this up in the chat here is that Siri is a phenomenal outfielder, right? And with Nimmo getting older, it's harder for him to run. He's been battling injuries. Citi Field outfield is massive, right? Jose Siri is one of, if not the fastest outfielder in the big leagues. And then there's always questions about Juan Soto's defense, even though he is like a 3-time Gold Glove nominee. But again, he's slow. Citi Field outfield is huge.
It is.
So he can
listen. Let me interject over here because I think you guys are like putting the mantle on Jose Siri just a bit too quickly. He batted 187 last year.
Well, that's why I said I'll sign for 220.
Yeah, right. So he's got to show that he could put the ball, and the question is, right, he played in Tampa, right? Where, listen, I could be funny in Vin's house. I can't be funny in a stadium full of, in a stadium full of people, right?
33 people in Tampa.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, I could do a stand-up routine there, but I can't do a stand-up routine in Citi Field packed, right? I'd be in the fetal position, sucking my thumb, asking for my mama, right? I couldn't do that. So listen, you know what? The 13,000 people that are showing up to Port St. Lucie, and that's like the biggest crowds ever. Whoop-de-doo, right? I mean, playing in the mock Fenway Park in JetBlue Park, whatever the stadium's called, and where Boston plays. All right. Tyrone Taylor hit 248, played solid defense, had the hits when he needed. He's going to be batting at the bottom of the lineup. I still think that we need to see a whole lot more from Jose Siri before bringing Tyrone Taylor off the bench. Now, is he off to an incredibly hot start? Yes. Will he continue this? I don't know. I don't know.
I'll tell you what I would do if I was Mendoza, and this would be my opening day positioning with these guys. Nimmo's coming off the plantar fasciitis, and what I would do, and I would seriously consider this, I would have Siri in center field. I would start Tyrone Taylor in left field, and I would give Nimmo the DH.
Ooh.
To keep him off his feet and keep him more healthy, because we don't have a true DH at the moment. I would be fine with Pete. It's going to be McNeil at second, unfortunately. Lindor, Vientos, Alvarez. My outfield would be Taylor, Siri, Soto, and I would DH Nimmo to try to get him healthy.
And you can have Marte and Winker off the bench.
Absolutely.
Oh, dude, hot takes.
Listen,
that's what I would do.
It's not a terrible idea if Nimmo is still battling his plantar fasciitis. It sounds like he's back to 100% though. So if Nimmo is back, he's getting paid $20 million a year. And, when he's healthy, he's a very, very solid outfielder. There's no way
especially in a corner spot.
Right. There's no way he's not going to be DHing if he's 100% healthy. There's no way he's going to be DHing if he's, fully healthy. But again, if he's not fully healthy and he still, has some pain, then maybe I can see it.
No, I could see Tyrone Taylor or Jose Siri, whoever it is, coming off the bench in late innings, with the lead and having Nimmo, sit for the last couple of innings, 7th, 8th inning. But I don't see a scenario where Starling Marte is not the DH. Batted 270 last year. He's a veteran professional. Winker is gonna, he's the question mark. Will he steal time from those other two outfielders, Siri and Taylor, I'm talking about? But
I hope Winker doesn't steal some outfield time. Winker's
it's not. I don't think he'll tell you outfield time, but whether he'll steal at bats, because I think he'll have a righty left up matchup at the DH role with Winker and Marte. But either way, I think we're going to start with one of those two guys in center field, Siri or Taylor, and then let's see what happens in the beginning of the season. I think the goal is to not get off to an 0-5 start like last year.
Absolutely.
That would not be great.
Yeah, because I heard somebody say one time, and it makes sense. You can't win a division in April and May, but you can lose it.
Right.
Especially, let's not forget, we tied with Atlanta last season record-wise, and those guys played a full season without Spencer Strider and Acuna.
Right.
more or
Yeah.
less a full season.
They're going to be a dangerous team this year, the Braves. And I don't think it's so simple, that the Mets are going to walk away with the division. And that kind of takes us to some of the pitching stuff, right? We know that Montas is now out for a long time. Shomani is not making the opening day roster because he's hurt. We talked about this a little bit last week. It looks like they're sticking with what they got. I don't like it. I want to see a move in the starting rotation, but it looks like we're going to go with who's available. Brandon Sproat looked good. This other kid,
Blade Tidwell looked
Blade Tidwell.
great.
Loved. First of all, I'm a huge Blade Tidwell fan. Did I ever tell you that?
You have mentioned this multiple times.
Okay.
What is he? Is he a Tennessee guy? Where did he go to school?
I think he did go to Tennessee, but don't hold me to it. Listen, talking about the starting rotation, a guy that you're very, very high on, Father, did not look too great. Did not. I have his
Not at all.
I have his final line score over here somewhere, but he really just looked terrible. He pitched 1.1 innings, gave up 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts. He looked terrible.
He did. Not defending him.
What
Not
do you have to
defending
say
him.
for yourself?
That he did terrible and that he let me down. And I'm not ready to, anoint him, Mr. Sixth Man of the rotation. I would have hoped that we could depend on him, but he was disastrous today. I mean, he literally could not beat anybody on his pitches. He couldn't, he was just hittable. Remember that last season, there were games where he was lights out, untouchable, and then he'd come out for the next start and just get lit up. That can't happen. We can't have a guy where every other outing he's going to get lit up and not give the Mets an opportunity to win. Paul Blackburn is going to have to figure it out. I don't see him in the bullpen. I don't see him as a guy that's going to come out in the bullpen. I'd rather have a Griffin Canning type of guy come out of the bullpen. But this is what makes me nervous about the Mets, is that their rotation isn't deep enough to have outings like this.
Now, my question to both of you is, if Blade Tidwell and Brandon Sproat keep showing this kind of stuff, going forward in spring training, do you think it's a real option to, have one of those two guys starting, come, the sixth game? You think that's a real option?
Yes, and I think that's what has to be done, because I think I said this on our show last week. Sproat's 24. He's not a 21-year-old kid anymore. If not now, then when? We saw it with I always confuse the two. If one of you guys or somebody in the chat could just check me on this, it was either Vassell or Hamill. At one point, they were our top prospect, and they got taken in the Rule 5 of this draft by Philly and then traded away for cash. So, he's had enough time, in my opinion, Sproat. And this is the way I kind of feel about a bunch of these young kids. Look at Vientos. They brought him up, and it was kind of like sink or swim. You could either do this or you can't at this level. Somebody like Vientos, Beatty, we know you can do it in AAA. We've seen it over and over and over. Now you're either going to come up to the majors and you're going to do it or you're not. And I feel like Sproat, I think Tidwell is 23.
Yes.
These are the guys at 23, 24 years old that throw 98 to 99. I want these guys up. Let them work with Alvarez. Let them work with the pitching lab. And you have the veterans. You have Minaya. You have guys that could kind of coach them through this. Senga's another one. Let these kids come up and throw. Because if you're not going to trade for that big arm, you got some of them.
Right.
Just let them go. Take the reins off. And I think they should, if they get bombed for the rest of the spring, that's different. But like you presented, if they go out and they're solid the rest of the spring, I'm going with them. I'd rather do that than bring back Quintana.
Listen, I'll tell you, I do think that Blade Tidwell, could really show things. I think Brandon Sproat right now, if he pitches dominant, let him make the opening day roster. Blade Tidwell did not pitch well enough when he got called up to AAA last year.
Neither did Brandon Sproat. Brandon Sproat had a 7-something ERA in AAA last year, and granted, he got moved up really quickly. But if these guys can throw well against a mix of major league players, I don't care what they did in AAA. Same thing with Luis Angel Acuna was terrible in AAA and then got called up because the Mets needed to add to September call-ups or whatever. They needed to add a couple guys. Called him up and he came and he performed. Some guys don't perform well in AAA or in the minors, but once they get to the bigs, they find it, right? You have a Brett Beatty is the opposite, right? In the bigs, he doesn't have it, but he's AAA. He's the
quadruple A player.
Right, he's the Mike Trout of AAA. But just because a guy doesn't throw or doesn't play well in AAA does not mean that he won't do well in the big leagues. And Luis Angel Acuna is a great example of it.
I know. Listen, you're right that Brandon Sproat did not pitch well when he got called up to AAA. He did very well in Single A and Double A, right? He had I'm trying to see over here how many starts he had in he had seven starts in AAA. Blade Tidwell didn't really pitch lights out in Double A. Hear me out. If Brandon Sproat continues to pitch well, he should have an opening day spot. Blade Tidwell, I think we could give him a little bit more time to figure it out down on the farm, because we do have a decent bullpen, and Blackburn's not going to go down to the farm, and Canning's not going down to the farm. McGill's not going down. So
I don't think Paul Blackburn can go down without passing waivers first.
Yeah, whatever it is. So that's what I'm saying. Like Tidwell's gonna have to use some more seasoning down there. You're right. Both of them were drafted in 22. Both of them kind of were moving up. Sproat took a little bit longer to get going, but he was lights out last year until he hit AAA. Let him earn that spot, and let Tidwell continue to refine himself, in Syracuse. So that's where I think it's going to go. I don't think that there's going to be room for both of them on the opening day roster. But you're right. Brandon Sproat's 24 years old. If we're going to see what we have and use him either for our success or for leverage to bring in somebody else, we gotta do that now. We can't wait for these guys to get 26, 27 years old. And then, they hit free agency, in their 30s, and, they're useless after that, because we know we're not going to resign them, especially with David Stearns as their guy.
The big thing that I saw from Sproat, and the thing that I liked a lot, is I know everybody in today's world and today's game loves the strikeouts, but he was throwing this 98 mile an hour sinking fastball. And I think he got, of the 6 outs, 4 of them were ground ball outs.
Yeah. He had
and that's big right there, because if we're going to pride ourselves on Lindor being a gold glover, even though the MLB shows him massive amounts of disrespect.
Oh, it's disgusting.
And we're going to have Acuna eventually at second. That's a more than capable up the middle defense. So if he's going to go out there and start throwing ground balls like that at 98, 99 miles an hour, I want to see him up.
Do you know who I think may end up at second base?
Mauricio?
Brett Beatty.
Nope.
Beatty?
Nope. Vientos.
Why?
Because I think Beatty may earn him. I mean, Beatty's been on fire with the bat. You saw what he did today. He's a much better third baseman than Vientos. And I think that Vientos has some time at second base. I think Vientos, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Vientos at second base at some point early in the season, because Beatty's on third.
I find myself rooting for Beatty so hard.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think that's going to happen, because Mendoza said that Vientos is most likely going to stay at third base. I also think that Vientos profiles as a third baseman better than Brett Beatty profiles as a third baseman. But again, you're going to have Brett Beatty is probably going to be on the opening day roster, and he's going to be that utility guy like Jose Iglesias was. He doesn't sing songs, unfortunately, for everybody, but he's a phenomenal fielder. He can play, all infield positions.
He actually liked my story the other day
Beatty?
on Instagram. I was in the car yesterday and it was beautiful out in New York, so I had the windows down and I was cranking. Oh my God. So I took a picture of it and I put it on my Instagram story and I wrote, "Bring him back to Queens." And Jose Iglesias liked
Oh,
it.
dude, Jose Iglesias would love nothing more to be back in Queens. Nothing more.
I really don't think this just might be me being crazy. I just don't think he'll sign with any other team unless it's the Mets. I'm kind of done with baseball, but if the Mets offer me something, I'll sign with them.
But it does look like, from his stories, it does look like he's trying to get his pop career going.
It does. It's obvious at this point. I mean, he's made it known he wants to be a Met.
Man, but I don't. There's no room for him. Sorry, Jose.
I think he knows that, but he still is going to try as much as he can and stay in shape. And in case somebody goes down with an injury, he'll be like, "Hey guys, I'm here."
I thought that was going to happen with Madrigal.
God.
I thought that was going to be the injury that made Iglesias come back.
I don't even know why the Mets signed Nick Madrigal. It made no sense, especially because of everything David Stearns was saying about how he wants Acuna to be, how Acuna is going to be heavily involved. But, you also have McNeil, who is going to be the opening day second baseman, and they're going to ride with him for as long as possible. And then they have Beatty, who they're, throwing around everywhere. And then you have Jet Williams, who can play second base, and you have Ronnie Mauricio, who can play second base. Nick Madrigal made 0 sense.
He's this year's Jed Lowry. He's never going to play for us.
He's never going to play. Can I just say one thing? I took a look over here and I saw some of the comments about people, saying that I'm a little crazy for saying Vientos at second base.
You are.
Watch what is going to happen. Okay? See this gray? This gray knows a thing or two. This gray knows a thing or two. We're going to see Vientos at second at some point this year and Beatty at third. May not be opening day.
I'll say this for your statement. If Vientos is at second, that means we're getting a ton of production out of Brett Beatty. So if that's what it takes for Brett Beatty to come up and hit 25 to 30 home runs, I'll take it, because that means Beatty's tearing the cover off the ball.
He doesn't even need to do that. If he's hitting 250 to 260, he's probably going to stay up because of his defense. Listen, there's one thing about Beatty is that his defense has always been, at a very high level. He's always had a very high level defense. Mark Vientos doesn't have that defense, but he's progressing a lot. If Beatty can, do something offensively, then, I agree with you. It's very possible that he can be at third, but I also think he most likely be at second.
Well, I know they were giving Beatty reps at second, and they were actually giving him reps at short, too.
Listen, Beatty can play every position in the infield. He can probably catch if they needed him to. He's a very versatile fielder.
I wouldn't go that far, but
they have a bunch of these kids that they started working them all over the field. Like 2 years ago, I went to Brooklyn, and Jet Williams was playing center field that night.
Okay, so a lot of our young guys can play like every position there is.
Right.
By the way, no joke. We're gonna be in New York in June. We should hit up a game of Brooklyn. By the way, Azriel.
I'm down.
Should totally hit up a game of Brooklyn.
The Cyclones game?
Yeah.
Cyclones game?
Totally. Those games are so much fun.
You would love it.
I had to beg my girlfriend to go to 2 games in the 8 days that we're going to be there. There is no shot she will allow a Brooklyn game.
Hold on.
Okay, yeah, Vin, because go ahead, Vin.
It's a lot different than Citi Field.
Yes.
If you bring your girlfriend, you could sell her on Coney Island. You could sell her on hanging out after the game, as well as before the game if you get there early. You don't have to stay for the full 9 innings. You could go to Nathan's before the game. You could go to the game for about 5 or 6 innings, and then you could just hang out in Coney Island the rest of the night. So if you're going to try to convince her, use that as the selling point.
Right. And you go, look, here's a Cyclone Park. What do they call it? What's the stadium called?
MCU now.
What is it?
MCU. It used to be E-Span. I think it's MCU now.
whatever it is. It's a beautiful stadium. It's a whole lot of fun.
Have you ever been to a Chicago Dogs game?
No,
Is it? I mean, you haven't gone, but is it that kind of?
I can't imagine it being more fun. Because first of all, these are legitimate prospects. The Chicago Dogs are guys that like failed and like are trying to like impress a scout that may be in the crowd. These guys are like the up and coming Met guys.
Speaking of fun games, by the way, I really want to go to a Savannah Bananas game. It's like on a bucket list. I really want to go to one.
They actually came to Staten Island, I think last summer. But to your father's point, going just to Brooklyn, and when Staten Island had the Staten Island Yankees here, I got to see David Wright play in Brooklyn, Jose Reyes play in Brooklyn, guys like Matt Harvey. And then in Staten Island, I got to see guys like Robinson Cano, Melky Cabrera, Chingming Wong. So these are guys that we're going to see at some point. 2 years ago, when I saw Jet Williams, that was also a game that Nick Morabito played in, Clifford played in, and then they played the Yankees affiliate. We got to see Spencer Jones. So Jesus Baez is going to be in Brooklyn this year. So these are guys. Alex Ramirez was there.
Right.
These are guys that we're seeing on TV now in the Mets spring training. So it's exciting. They're good games.
We are going to Coney Island for spending a whole day at Coney Island, so maybe we'll be like.
So at night, you go hit up a game. It's right there. It's like, and yeah, whatever. Anyway, we'll have to get to that, but we're gonna be there for a few days in June, and I know that we have the Sunday game against the Rays on the agenda. Maybe the Thursday game against the Cardinals, right?
I'm going. So I'll be in New York a couple days before you will. So I'm going to the Tuesday game against Washington, and then the Sunday game against the Rays.
Right. So we'll have to work that out. But one last thing about the spring training games going on, because this has to be talked about because I didn't have a chance to process this yet. Did you hear the sound of the crack of the bat when Soto hit that bomb?
Which one? The first one?
The one where he timed up that changeup. I think it was a changeup, and he went oppo with it, and just the sound of the ball off the bat was.
You know why? Because
unbelievable.
You watch games back in COVID when there's nobody there. The same sound.
Oh no! I'm taking that into consideration. The sound of Jose Siri versus the sound of Juan Soto. I mean, I don't know. Jose Siri hit the cover off the ball, but the way that Juan Soto ball sounded, I mean,
Juan Soto's a machine.
First of all, he knew he was hitting a home run right afterwards.
Oh, it was so awesome to see him do that little like smile and nod thing, wearing a Mets uniform. It brought me so much joy.
So you know what it reminded me of? Bobby Bowe used to do this thing, and whenever he would do it, I knew he was going yard. He would step out of the batter's box, and he would kind of like hop, like he would like jump up and down, and he'd step back in the box back when there was no pitch clock, so he was able to take his time, and then he would go, like this ball's gone, boom. That's what that smirk reminds me of, where the batter just knows that the next pitch, I have it, it's mine.
It's crazy because I didn't get to see the 80s with the whole like New York rivalry with the debates between Keith Hernandez and Don Mattingly, and the comments that have gone back and forth in the spring really feel like we have that now with right fielders. There's something that Soto and Judge don't like about each other. We don't know what it is, but there's something there.
The fact that Judge never reached out to Soto during the whole negotiations says something.
Yep.
I can leave it at that, but it says something. He
changed his number.
Right. Fair enough. Listen, if I'm teammates with Judge also, I'm changing my number. I'm joking. I'm not. Actually, who knows?
I made this point when me and Lou were talking about it, and the reason I say that something is more than what it is at just the surface that we see. Even if Soto did change his number, one of two things. He decided that Judge wasn't getting his new number, or Judge is a liar, because if you guys remember the night we signed Soto, Donovan Mitchell was on FaceTime with him fairly quick. And that's a guy from the NBA.
Right.
Listen, if Aaron Judge wanted to get the new number, he could have gotten the new number. He could have. If he wanted that new number to say something, reach out to, he would have.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm saying when Pete Alonso was still a free agent, Lindor reached out to him, Nimmo reached out to him, a whole bunch of guys reached out to him, and told ownership, hey, listen, you got to bring this guy back. There was no reports of that with Judge and the Yankees. Oh no, I said it.
Oh, fine, that's right.
Yeah.
We haven't had a fine.
It's been 14 episodes.
No, it's been 12. It's been 12 because the pilot episode we didn't do it.
Right. The first one I said it, and then
I said it the second time. That's it.
It's been 12. It's been 12 episodes since that word has been said.
Right. All right. It's $5. What?
I said it too.
You're a guest. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You get the free pass. So that we now have $15 in that jar. That's crazy.
That's true.
It's been,
but like the Soto and Judge thing for me, like I love this. I love that Soto like sparked this controversy with Aaron Judge and that team, because I was with one of my friends last night who's a huge fan of that other team. I'll try not to say it now. I respect the rule.
Thank you, Vin. It's
and
about
we were
time.
talking about Judge, and just what I got from my friend is he's starting to piss off Yankee fans. The whole thing with Soto and that comment about the beard that he decided to make was directly made to Devin Williams. How if a beard is going to keep you from being here, that one little rule, maybe you shouldn't be here. There's only one guy that's complained about it since he's been there. Right. And are you really going to drive away one of the top 3 closers in baseball? Because I'll take him.
Yeah, first of all, can I just say how stupid that rule is, by the way? No, listen, not yeah, the rule is stupid, right? Yeah, I'm talking about with 2.5 guys that have a beard here, right? Right? So what I'm saying, okay, the beard rule, whatever. But you look at all the guys that came. I mean, do you remember when Johnny Damon came and had to like cut his hair, cut his, beard and all that stuff? If you can't pitch without a beard, grow up.
Garrett Cole.
Grow up.
But I think the only reason I bring them up is because as Met fans, I feel like we're influencing their decisions now. And for the first time in my life, it's like we're doing things and they're reacting from it.
Right. It's awesome.
They changed their song.
Yeah,
they changed their beard rule.
They changed beard rule. By the way, that was stupid. The fact that they played Frank Sinatra, their song "New York, New York," even after they lost, is unbelievable.
Like Azriel, especially me and you, because we're younger. But your father got to see the Mets own the city in the 80s. We didn't see that. So now it's like Cohen is elevating us past them, and it's almost becoming our city where the Mets are the destination now.
Yeah. No.
So the whole thing about Vladdy, I don't believe for a second that they're a favorite to sign him. Because if Cohen wants him, guess what? Vladdy's going to be wearing orange and blue next year.
So this is actually something I want to talk to you about. Father, we talked about this last week. We said how I don't really know if it's so if Pete Alonso opts out, I don't know if the Mets are going to get Vlad, because Steve Cohen in a press conference said you can't have too many long-term, guys, long-term contracts because, it holds everything together. A lot of Mets fans don't kind of realize this, that you can't have so like too many long-term contracts.
Yeah, people are getting drunk on Steve Cohen's money.
I don't think it's so I don't know what the word is, but I don't think we're favorites at all. I wouldn't even say that we're there.
But here's the difference. We're not favorites because Steve Cohen is going to decide not to put his money there.
Right.
If Steve Cohen wants to put his money there, guess who the favorites are? Right?
The New York Metropolitans.
You want to know why I'll believe until Vlad especially. I'm not going to go out and say every big name free agent we're going to sign them, but Vlad, and this is directly shouted out to James Bayerga, who said this 2-3 years ago. The culture that the Mets are building with Lindor, with Soto, with Siri, with Vientos, with Alvarez, these Spanish players are very in tune with each other. And if somebody like Lindor and Soto want Vlad here, because listen, I don't care if Nimmo is the only guy I can understand in a press conference. I want a World Series.
By the way,
want to see a ring. I don't care if I have to sell my soul to get it.
Vientos is California born and raised.
I know. But if Vlad's out there and somebody like Soto wants Vlad on his team and Vlad is for it, I understand we can't give long-term contracts to every position, but this, in my opinion, is a different situation like a Soto.
Here's
he's 26.
Here's the issue. Here's the issue, right? If you're going to get Vlad, you're going to have to give a 10+ year contract to him.
I do it.
Right?
So hold on. I want to hit the brake on this. I'll tell you why. And I said this last week, and I want to say it again. Can we worry about this year? I want a championship. I want a
deadline anyway.
What?
We're going to trade for Vlad at the deadline anyway.
Okay, so then you know what? If we're in that spot, then things are probably looking really good, but really bad for Pete Alonso. So I don't know.
I wonder if Pete would be okay with DHing. I wonder if he'd be okay with that, even though he's a better defensive first baseman than Vlad. I wonder if he'd be okay with DHing because you're not going to give a guy a $10 10-year contract and then have him DH for 10 years. You're just not going to do that. I wonder if Pete would be okay with DHing.
I feel like if the trade deadline comes and the Mets are seriously in on Vlad, and you go to Pete, let's just say for argument's sake, and you say, listen, we have a real shot to bring in Vlad. You're going to be the DH. And if he says no, I'm putting Pete in the package for Vlad. Because offensively, Vlad is so much better than Pete and so much younger that if you're going to turn that down, listen, you gave us a hard time in free agency. You turned down 2 contracts from us. You eventually signed, and it was basically on your terms. So if you have a monster year this year, you can opt out and go get more money somewhere else. If he declines that option, well, then guess what? I'm calling Toronto, and whatever package we agreed on, you could have Pete Alonso in that deal.
Right.
I have no love lost with Pete after the way this whole thing went.
So listen, I don't see it. I don't see Pete not playing first base, and I don't see the Mets. I don't see Vlad being like, okay, I'll take a 10-year deal and DH for 10 years.
Well, the only thing I will say in regards to this, where you might be able to trade for Vlad and make him the DH for the rest of the season, and then you decide where you go from that if Pete opts out or whatever the case is. But I just feel like somebody like that, you don't let Pete Alonso stand in the way of that, because he's 26. He's a guy that hits 310, 320, and behind Lindor and Soto and Vientos, this is a guy that could drive in 130, 140 runs rolling out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, but
without even really
Pete Alonso
going crazy.
Pete Alonso can do the same thing, right?
But he's not going to give us the average.
an average doesn't matter if you're hitting 45, 50 home runs a year. I don't care if
I don't think we're going to see that from Pete ever again.
I think you will. I think he's motivated. I think you're going to be shocked.
So.
I think you're going to be a little shocked on what you see from Pete Alonso this year.
But the thing is, if I am, it's great for the Mets and I'll take it. But then he opts out and he does this whole free agency thing all over again.
You know what? I said this last week. If I'm Pete Alonso, I'm purposely not going to opt out just so the Mets don't have any other choice but me, right? Because if he does, let's say the Mets don't trade for Vlad, right? He doesn't opt out. The Mets aren't going to go after Vlad because they won't need to. And then his contract comes up. He becomes a free agent, and then there's no other first baseman on the market that's worth doing that. So the Mets they have two options. They either get Pete back, or they rely on Clifford to be their first baseman for the future.
See, in that situation, I think if Pete does opt in, then I think the ball is in the Mets' court. Because if Pete opts in for 2026, the Mets can go sign Vlad as a free agent. And then you can turn around to Pete and say, you opted in, you're on your second year of a 2-year deal. Guess what? You're playing this year as a DH. And if you don't like it, one of two things. You can get traded, or you could go out and suck and then hit free agency, and we saw how well that worked for you the first time. So I think if Pete opts in, if I'm the Mets, I'm more inclined to go get Vlad, because now you're in the driver's seat. You could sign Vlad to a 10-year deal, and you could tell Pete, you're the DH. There's no discussion. If you don't want a DH, you're going to get traded, or you're going to have a bad year, and you're going to hit free agency at 32 on a down year.
Right. Again, going back to what I originally said is that Steve Cohen said you can't have so many long-term contracts. If you think about it, right, you'll have Juan Soto is the obvious 15 years. You'll have Francisco Lindor, who I think has 6 years left, right? You have Brandon Nimmo, who's got 7 or something like that years left, 5 years left. You have a lot of guys who have long-term. I know I'm forgetting another guy who has a long-term contract, but you forget, you have these guys who have long-term contracts, and it's hard to fit them in.
Another thing with, like Sin Ropa just said, guys like Edgar Martinez, guys like David Ortiz, these guys DH'd and extended their careers to do it. And if Pete really wants to be a Met and Pete really wants to win a World Series, I don't think signing Vlad and him becoming a DH will stand in the way, because like I said a few minutes ago, somebody like Vlad, in my opinion, when it comes to somebody like that, I don't think Cohen will really balk at giving him a long-term deal, because I mean, when you factor in the age and the numbers, in my opinion, Vlad's the best first baseman in baseball. At 26 years old, I know you got guys like Matt Olson and, we love Alonso and Freddie Freeman, but when you take into account his age, Freddie Freeman's going to be gone and Vlad's still going to be here.
Right.
So I think when you lock up a guy like Soto and you have Lindor signed, you go get that guy. And then we spoke about it. If Sproat and Tidwell could come up at some point and really show that they're worth it at the major league level, you're saving money on pitching now, because they're going to have some years of control.
Yeah. Listen,
so definitely we have options.
It's still really hard for me to see the Mets giving out another long-term contract. Like my father said when he was here, throwing shade at you now because you left for some reason. But
is he here?
No, he's not. I don't know if he might be watching the live stream because he left. But now I lost my train of thought.
You were saying about the long-term contracts.
That's great. We've been talking about long-term contracts for the past 5 minutes. This is not going to help me. whatever I was saying, things happen and then other things happen, and then I don't know if the Mets are really willing to do it. But, also, if, let's say, Blade Tidwell shows he could pitch in the in the major league level, maybe the Mets trade, use Blade Tidwell, as a piece in a trade for Vlad if it comes to it. Even, maybe if Vlad is on the Mets this year at some point, maybe the likelihood of the Mets signing him long term is higher. But with him in free agency and with the Blue Jays still being, even though I highly, highly, highly doubt he goes to the Blue Jays or back to the Blue Jays. And then with Boston, who whiffed on pretty much every big name and kind of
them and Toronto. Just
right.
Can't get anybody to go there.
And with the other team in New York being hungry because they just lost Juan Soto to the better team in town. Those are three rich, hungry teams, right? Those are three rich, hungry teams who will throw a ridiculous amount of money at Vlad. I said this before, and I think you probably agree with me, but Juan Soto, as good as he is, nobody's worth $700 million.
Oh, I said that. I've been talking with Brady from Met News about that since we even signed him. He's going to be overpaid, but you know what? Go get us 1, 2, 3 rings, and
I don't care. I don't care about it.
He's worth his weight in gold.
I was talking about this with one of my neighbors. He was like, "Oh, it's cool. You guys overpaid for him." I'm like, "We didn't. We may have overpaid for him, but he's not worth. But that's what the market was.
Right.
The market drove him up." Now, in that same, press conference with Steve Cohn, he said that he would like to stay under budget or by his budget, in the next coming years. If Vlad Guerrero's, if the market brings him up to 350, 400 million, that's probably over budget for one player. You just went out and put 765 million on one guy. Your payroll this year is higher than it has been since you've been the Mets owner. I think he really wants to kind of tone down the spending, especially with the talent that we now have, plus with the talent that we have in the minor league system, right? We have a very, very good farm.
And the thing I would do with that is I would almost rather trade the prospects for proven pitching other than trade them for, what if this guy shows his potential as a position player? I would rather use it for like a Cease or a King or going back to the past offseason. I want to crochet.
Obviously, I would love to sign a guy like or trade for a guy like Dylan Cease and Michael King. I don't want to trade my prospects for a guy that's going to be a free agent next year. I don't, because it's not a guarantee that they're going to come back. I saw a ton of mock trades that Mets fans were throwing out there on Mets Twitter and everything. Throwing in guys like Acuna, Jet Williams, Nolan McLean. I don't want to spend that much, especially because I don't think they're that good. And in free agency, we can get them there. I can almost guarantee you that Dylan Cease has a number in his head. And like Pete Alonso, he's got a big name, but he's not going to be able to get the money that he wants. Michael King might be able to get paid a little bit more because I don't know what's the deal with him, but he just throws strikes and gets outs and is phenomenal. Dylan Cease has a hard time throwing strikes and keeping hits down. So I wouldn't want to trade any of the prospects.
I just feel like if we're going to trade them, I would rather trade it for the pitching instead of the position players. I know, like me and Lou were really hoping that before the Siri thing and everything, the Mets would go out and get somebody like a Luis Robert, because I feel like somebody like him on a very affordable contract, by the way, you put him in a lineup like the Mets, I think we see his potential. But I think at some point this season we're gonna have to. If the kids aren't going to come up and pitch, we need to make a trade for a pitcher that could be that when the playoffs come, he's going to go out there and even if it's 5-6 innings, that he could give you 5-6 innings of shutout dominant baseball because you do need one of those guys to go out there and compete, especially now. You look at the Dodgers rotation; it seems like they have 5 or 6 of them.
I'm very interested to see how they're going to build their 26-man roster. Welcome back.
I was listening to all your talk. So yeah, I'm up to date. Sorry, my internet here crashed, and I'm back though.
Well, welcome back. I know before because we're running out of time here, but I know that you wanted to do something. What we wanted to do was we were going to do kind of like a draft of all-time Mets. Unfortunately, Lou got sick. He couldn't join us. But, you had an idea. You didn't really tell me what the idea is. So before we end off this episode, let's hear it and let's have some fun.
Okay, so I want you to imagine you're creating a draft board and you got to rank your top 4 position players, and I'm going to go through each position, and I'm going to give you the players, and you have to put them, because let's just use our imagination. The other players were taken. They're not an option. So you have to create a draft board with these 4 players. Okay, so you're considering age, you're considering contract, you're considering whatever you want to consider. But here are the 4 players that you have to rank on your draft board for each position. In fairness, to not sway anything, I'm going to start with the Met that is on the list. And then I'm going to go for the next 3 are going to be in alphabetical order.
Are we doing one position or are we doing multiple positions?
No, I have 4 positions here.
And you know how we would draft these guys?
You're going to create your draft board. So if this guy's available, I'm going to go with him. If, then I'm going to go, these are the top 4 guys that I'm gonna go. So let's start with left field.
I'm gonna imagine this as who I want to build my team around, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for. But that's what I have in my head.
Not at all, but that's fine. Okay, here we go. Right, left field. You have Brandon Nimmo, Yordan Alvarez, Jackson Chourio, and Riley Green.
I guess I can take this first. I think it's without a question you put Jackson Chourio 1, right? He's young. He's a phenomenal fielder. He's got an electric bat, and he is fast. So you put him 1. I would, personal bias, go Brandon Nimmo 2, Yordan Alvarez, and then Riley Green.
All right. Vin, you want to give a different angle?
So you said Yordan, Riley Green, Chourio, and Nimmo.
Yeah.
Nimmo's 4. That's not even
What do you have against Brandon Nimmo?
You just broke Azriel's heart.
If there was a 5th guy, Nimmo would be off the list.
Oh my Lord.
See, it's so hard because I think I would go Yordan, Chourio, and Riley Green.
Okay. All right.
I want to say, just because the chat came in here, I see one full list from Joe. He goes Yordan, Chourio, Nimmo, Green.
All right, here we go. First base. Let's move on. First base. You got Petey. He's the Met. Yandy Diaz, Freddie Freeman, or Christian Walker.
Vin, I'll let you have that.
We talked enough about Vladdy, so screw him.
Vladdy, I'll let you take this one.
So Pete, Freeman,
Yandy Diaz, and Christian Walker.
That's a good one. Diaz would be last. I'm going to say Freddie Freeman first because the guy just doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. Who was the other one? Pete and
Christian Walker.
Christian Walker and Pete third.
Okay, so you're going Freeman, Walker, Petey, Diaz.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Freeman, Pete, Walker, Yandy.
Okay, very good. Right field. All right, this is gonna be a tough one. Ready? The Met is Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Then you got Ron.
Next question.
You got Ron Acana, Judge, and Kyle Tucker.
Holy cow. That's I'll take this one. By the way, it's funny that you said Ron Acuna. For everybody that doesn't know, it's Ronald Acuna Jr. You just took a page out of my youngest brother's book. But I'll take this one first. It's Soto, Ronald Acuna, Kyle Tucker, and then Judge. I hate Judge. Hate him, even though he probably should be too.
All things equal, healthy, the age they are now.
Yes.
I think I'm going to take this. Is the first spot is so tough for me because even though I'm a Met fan, I got to say,
don't do it. Don't do it.
No, let's go.
I'm going to break a lot of hearts here, but Soto's third.
Holy cow.
So who's 1 and 2?
I think I got to say,
better not be.
Judge first.
Oh my God.
Acuna second. Soto and Tucker.
Listen, everybody watching this live, go unfollow Vin right now.
Right.
Because I'll say this.
And if you're not following us, follow us.
I'll say this. It's the thing with Ronald Acuna is even though he's a Brave, when he's healthy, the fact that he could hit 40 home runs and steal 60 bases is before the 50-50 year last year. Acuna was doing things out of the leadoff spot that we've never seen before. And as far as Judge, as much as I hate that team, it's Aaron Judge. The guy healthy hits 50 home runs in his sleep.
I just want to let you know what some people in the chat just said. Sinropa said, "Don't John Cena us, Vin." Joe said, "Wow, Vin did it for The Rock." Acuna has 2 ACL surgeries. Man, I cannot believe you put Soto third.
I said all things equal.
Yeah. All healthy.
Putting Soto third still is ridiculous.
You want to know why I had to? Because when Soto was a Padre, if I had this discussion with people, and I know I did, that was always my stance on it. It was always, and I've actually had this argument where it was the other way around with, I would say when Judge was in right field, that Acuna was the best right fielder in baseball. Because, I mean, Marco said I'm canceled.
Listen, you may have just lost 6 followers.
I have, and I know I'm supposed to, but I have no hate for Ronald Acuna because everything that he brings to the table as a Brave, I feel like should be a Met. Like the aura, the swag, the different color, like the elbow guard, the shin guard. I mean, I'm looking up 2023 now, and as a leadoff hitter, the guy hit 340, hit 41 home runs, 106 RBIs, and stole 73 bases.
So maybe you put Acuna 1, but you have Judge's 33. Soto's 26 years old.
I know.
All right, let's move on before Vin loses more followers here. Okay? We have another one here for him to bury himself even deeper. Okay? Shortstop.
Okay.
All right. We got Francisco Lindor.
I'm just going to preface this by saying there's only one guy that I'll put over Lindor, so I hope he's not on the list.
Okay. He probably is. Lindor, Mookie Betts, Gunnar Henderson, and Bobby Witt Jr. That's the guy right there, isn't he, Vinny?
So I'll take it. I'll take some hate first. I'm gonna go Bobby Witt 1 because he's a lot younger. He's electric, and then I'm gonna go Lindor, and then I'm probably it's hard between the 3 and 4 spot, but I'll probably go Gunnar because of age, and then Mookie. Also saying that Mookie is not, naturally a shortstop. So I think it's Bobby Witt, Francisco, Gunnar, Mookie.
Vin?
Bobby Witt was the guy.
By the way, if any of you would have said Frankie over Bobby Witt, I would have called you out for your Mets bias. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, Bobby Witt was the guy for me. And like Azriel said, it's strictly because of the age on that one. I mean, Bobby Witt is electric.
Yeah, he's next level.
Unbelievable. I would say Bobby Witt, Lindor, Gunnar, and Mookie.
We got the same list there then.
Going by the age, I think Bobby Witt is just that guy right now, and he's going to be the best shortstop in baseball for the next decade or so.
Wow, Bobby Witt is phenomenal.
He really is.
I mean, he is the definition of a 5-tool player.
Let's move on to third base, and this will be it. The Met is Mark Vientos, Alex Bregman, Matt Chapman, and Austin Riley.
There was one guy at third base I would have put over Vientos too, but you didn't say him. So.
Who's that?
The Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, so it's funny. I didn't put Ramirez or Devers on the list because I mean that would. Sure. But I wanted guys who, it would be tough.
Because you want a Met to be number one. I get it.
No. First of all, I don't think Vientos is number one on this list.
You know what? For the first time, this is your game. While me and Vin think about this, give us your list on the third baseman.
All right, I'm going Bregman number one. I'm probably going to go Chapman 2, Vientos 3, and Austin Riley 4.
Austin Riley is like 45 times better than Matt Chapman. I don't care what anybody says.
First of all, Matt Chapman, in my opinion, is underrated, and Austin Riley can. I'm going to keep it PG-13, but he can.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah,
we get it.
You want me to go first? Because I got my list.
Go ahead.
This one was pretty easy for me.
Okay.
Vientos is first because I think I truly believe that there's one third baseman in baseball. No, I'm sorry. You said it. I'll put Devers there. I truly believe that Jose Ramirez and Devers, right as we sit here right now, are the only two third basemen better than Vientos in baseball. And that's not even Mets bias. I think he's that good. And then on that list, I'll put Riley second, Bregman third, and Chapman fourth.
Yeah, that's exactly my list right there. The fact that Chapman was very good. He was very good. He won a platinum glove. He was great. Not anymore. I do not want that guy on my team.
So let me just tell you, and I first of all, MLB put out their top 10 right now players, and I so many hot takes on that. I did not like it, but let me tell you that their top 10 with third base, because Vientos is not even on the top 10.
I know,
right? You had Ramirez, Devers, Bregman, Machado, Riley, Chapman, Arenado, Muncy, Paredes.
They had Isaac Paredes.
And Suarez.
They had Isaac Paredes.
Eugenio Suarez?
Yeah.
Now, for that list, I'll tell you something right now that's insane.
It's an insane list.
Bregman or Devers is not going to be a third baseman.
Well, Bregman's not. Bregman's playing second base right now.
Because they're on the same team. So,
right.
So you're essentially putting a
he was a free agent. In fairness, he's a free agent right here.
Okay. But still,
it's a horrible list.
I wish I could be on MLB Network and debate them on this, because there is no way you're telling me right now that Eugenio Suarez, Paredes, and Bregman at this point in his career is better than Mark Vientos.
And
there's no way.
Taking all things into consideration also with fielding and the bat, Isaac Paredes should be like the worst third baseman in the league.
Yeah, but he's young and he's got potential there. He's got potential.
With that list, I'm shocked that Christopher Morel isn't there.
Now you got my wheels turning, because now I'm looking up numbers.
Yeah.
Listen, we have to call it here. We're getting to that hour and 20 mark. Vin, thank you so much for coming back on for the third time, even though this will probably be the one that we are able to post, hopefully. Everybody who joined in on the live, we appreciate it. Shouting out the consistent guys who come on. Marcos, Joe, Sinropa. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week. As always, wait, do you have something to say, or are you waiting?
I want to say one thing.
Go ahead, say one thing.
We are working on some things that are very big. We need your likes. We need your follows. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comment. Help us get to where we want to go. Next week, we have a Hollywood writer and producer joining us who's a huge Met fan. Right? I'm going to keep you guys in suspense for now. I just got confirmation right now, by the way, Azriel. Just got confirmation. Yeah.
So, hold on. So I got Lou, I'm going to have to postpone you 1 week. I'm sorry.
Right? So we got a Hollywood writer and producer, and we had Matt Favola last week. We're working on some big things here, right? We're working on some big things. Like, subscribe, comment, notification, all this stuff. And while you're doing that to us, help Shea Less out over here. Do the same thing for him. But we got some big plans.
Is it James Cameron?
No.
Steven Spielberg?
Is he a Met fan? Because
I don't know.
Right. No, this guy's a huge Met fan.
Okay.
Listen,
right. I only want the Met fans here.
Stephen King. No, I'm joking.
Listen, we have big things to come. We're very excited. Like you said, follow, share, like, comment. Even if your comment is just a GIF, it means a lot. So do whatever you can. Big things coming. There will be an announcement probably later this week. But as always,
let's go Mets.
Go Mets.